Yeah, AOC goes too far for me. In particular, I like detest the idea of paying off student loan. Like
it's a whole other thing, but it is actually the worst idea ever suggested in history. Everything that anybody in this audience thinks they know about student loans is just completely and totally wrong. It's unbelievable. Like,
I found this Photoshop. I just wanted to be clear that I know it's a Photoshop.
The net spending that people spend on education today is about the same as it was in 2001. A lot of people don't realize that. Like the value of a college degree, like the time it takes to pay off an average 4 years bachelor degree, is like about as low as it has been, like lower now than it has been like in the history of the U.S. Like the amount of debt that's being held right now, 55% of that debt is held by people that are going after graduate degrees, like upper, like middle class people.
I have heard that. That really convinced me a bunch. Where like someone laid it out where they're like, basically, what you would be doing is upping taxes on working class people who couldn't afford to go to college so that money could be applied to a post-grad person who's probably from a rich family.
That's my argument.
Fuck that. That's it's bullshit.
Even if it's just undergrad school. These are still the upper crust of society in general, right? Now, I know there's some guy out there with a degree that didn't lead to a job, but if you went to college, I say this all the time, your workplace injury rates are lower. Your pay rate is higher. Your unemployment rate is lower. Everything about your job is better. You probably work in air conditioning if you went to college. And now you're asking some carpenter to pay off your loans? Stop complaining about how hard things are for you.
The median wage difference between like high school is like 32,000 or 34,000. The median wage for like a 4-year degree is like 58,000. It's ironically, in a paradoxical twist, college education is one of the biggest drivers of wealth inequality in our society because 4-year degrees confer such a massive wage premium to you that it's unbelievable. It's why people push for things like trade schools and associate schools, because we have to bridge that gap, because not everybody can go to college and get a 4-year degree. And the idea that someone wants to walk out of college earning $75,000, $80,000 a year and is crying about his like $25,000 a student, like, dude, pay it back. You got your job, pay it back. You're fine. Like, Jesus.
The reason people go to college is because it's still a good investment. So that I don't like about AOC. If there's something I do like about AOC, it's that I feel like she's always operating from a place of goodness. Even if I think she's wrong, I think that she's trying to do what's right. And I can't say that about all politicians. I can't say that about Trump. I think Trump does a whole lot because it's good for him personally. It seems like there's example after example of Trump just, I don't know, diverting military flights to Scotland so that his golf course has a better airport support. We're paying more to refuel planes now so that his golf course has the airport nearby. It doesn't go out of business, right? That's Trump. AOC, I don't know, self-sacrificing, death threats, etc. Or even if it's not, she thinks she's doing a good thing. I don't necessarily agree with this policy. She's probably against guns. We're not going to agree there. She's definitely for paying off student loans. I don't agree with her on a whole bunch of her left, but I do like that, she's trying to do what's right. And I don't think that's true of all of them.
I don't think that's true of the overwhelming majority.
The overwhelming majority. I think what we really need is term limits, like really concise term limits, like 2 terms, like make it like the presidency.
Wait, why?
Because I think that they become creatures. I think that they make a entire career out of being a representative, and they just get bought off. Like the main point that I was making last week when I was just like that somebody came in and desecrated my capital is like, that ain't my capital. That's Pfizer's capital. That's Microsoft's capital. That's like Big Oil's capital. Like those people are all a bunch of corporate shills. They're in no way voting in my best interest. They're voting in their own best interest 100% of the time.
So they care way more about what Facebook thinks of them.
I also don't think it should be. I don't think it should be a paying gig at all. They shouldn't make a dime, and they shouldn't be able to make a dime.
No, because then only really rich people will be able to do it.
So this is something that like people talk about this all the time, and everybody will fight against this, and it feels so wrong. But like, honest to God, if you want to see why politicians do the things that they do, you honestly just need to look at who's voting. The idea that like corporations are dramatically changing the course of what politicians might otherwise support is actually just completely and totally untrue. A lot of people will talk like this big talk about how politicians represent like other companies and politicians, blah, 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 blah. But then like when you actually look at how people behave, like it's actually not true at all. Like
so
people
the COVID relief bill had extra enforcements against live streaming, right? Like pirating content.
Correct. Yeah. But like you phrase it in that way.
Based on the voters? You think the voters were like, you know what? We need harsher punishments for people who share UFC streams.
If you talk about it that way, sure. But if I say the COVID relief bill is going to include more protections for creators that are going to make it so that this unprecedented age of the internet isn't allowing people to steal and pirate their content, like how China abuses our intellectual property so that the rightful creators of that content can profit off of it. Well, now it sounds like more, right?
Yeah, actually, that's a really good argument. I like
and this is how a lot of stuff goes. Like people, so for instance, like earlier we were saying like, oh, they just represent big oil. Like Americans represent big oil. You know, like I lived through, it was sometime in the 2000s when gas started to get crazy, $4 or $5 a gallon in a place where this never happened before. And Americans will cry about the cost of gas while the most popular selling vehicles in America are F-150s and Chevy Silverados, you know? And all of these, even unions will say like, oh, we need unions to protect the environment. Man, fossil fuel unions aren't sitting out here, asking for the environment to be protected. I'm in California, and to the south of us, there's like the largest, most cost efficient energy per kilowatt of solar farm ready to be turned on. And the only reason it hasn't been turned on yet is because the state hasn't negotiated with like the local fossil fuel workers to protect their jobs, because they're all going out of business as soon as they flip the switch on that plant.
A lot of that's true, but like you can definitely point to enormous things that like the majority of the population votes for, like
what?
Like high immigration, not good for middle class wages. It's not. It causes wages to stagnate, and people don't want that. And so if you were just going by what the average person was voting for, most of them are middle class, and when they see their wages stagnate for years and years, decades and decades, they don't like that. And like they're not being represented at all. So clearly people like the Koch brothers and big business, who do benefit chiefly from low cost labor, H-1B visas, they get the benefit.
People say this, but it's just not true. People will say like, who benefits from high immigration? Like nobody wants that. People will say out one end, I want American jobs. I don't want all this. And then they go and they shop at Walmart and Target and they buy things that are made for $2 in some factory halfway across the world. Or they'll say like, I don't want there to be massive immigration. Like all these cheap workers come in. But then when we say like, oh, cool, well, let's raise the minimum wage so we can pay American workers money. Like, no, wait, what? I don't want to pay people money. So, well, then you want to bring immigrants to work for them. People will make the same claim that like immigration is destroying local job markets, but our unemployment before the coronavirus was like 3.25%, which is lower than it should be. We want to keep unemployment at around 5% for some frictional unemployment. The idea that like people are opposed to immigration, it's kind of like when people say things like, I'm opposed to getting fat, and then they'll eat like all this food and they'll get fat, and they'll be like, I voted against fat.
Now I'm feeling personally attacked here, Destiny.
Yes, I'm feeling attacked by the fat.
I'm just saying, like, people will make all these claims about things that they're for or against, but their behaviors just run totally contrary of that. A really funny study that I saw was people talk about like environmental change, like climate change. And when you poll people, should we do something about the environment? Then the number starts at like 92% think that we should do something. And then when you say like, will you make a $10 commitment a month to it? That number drops from 90% to like 70%. And then when you say, will you make a $100 a month commitment? It drops to like 20%. So you have all these people that will vote for these complicated ideas in polls. Well, it's like, oh yeah, I support this or I support that. Like, I want to fund our schools more. And then when politicians are like, all right, well, how do you feel about property tax? Lower that property. It's like, oh, I guess you don't really want it then, I think that that's more representative of a reality than some weird shadow corporation buying off politicians. I think politician opinion tracks like voter opinion like pretty closely. I think that's just how it works. It's just we don't want to accept that because things are so fucked. We don't really want to take responsibility for it.
The other thing about immigration is that I think Taylor presented it as there were kind of two options. We can either pay Americans a lot or pay immigrants a little. The third option is just shipping the job outside the country entirely.
Mm-hmm. Well, we don't want that.
Right. So, but if you have no immigration, maybe that's what you get. Like we're all competing with automation and global workforce.
But like you do see that like corporations.
That's why we need another world war
on a lot of things. Like you see that, what was it? I think in one of Trump's bill nonsense, it was like upping the H-1B visa level to unprecedented new heights. Like who lobbied for that? Who wanted that? Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Google, because they want cheap programming, and big tech is enormously powerful. People, American citizens who are graduating with those degrees who want those jobs, they don't want that.
But this is, again, a lot of these things are just totally fictitious. People will say like, oh my God, like H-1B workers are coming in and they're destroying like tech jobs. But that's not true. Computer tech jobs are wanted like in every single, even in the fucking Midwest, they're still looking for more computer programmers. Like if you graduate with a degree in comp sci, you're like fucking anywhere in the country, like starting at 50, 60, 70, 80,000 plus a year, like in places where that's a lot of money. And then in San Francisco, if you get any entry level job at any big tech company, you're starting at like fucking 6 figures, easy. Like this idea, like it's so crazy that we run around and we say all these things about like immigrants destroying jobs, but you can't see it anywhere. It's like not in any data point. It's not even in any reality. Like you've never in your life heard somebody say, we got to stop going to school for comp sci, like way too many H-1B workers. They're killing us. Like it just doesn't happen. But somehow we all complain that they're stealing all the jobs. Like, I don't know. The reality.
I don't like my wages would have been higher.
I don't think it's stealing. Stealing jobs isn't, I don't think any of us brought that up. It's the wage stagnation that I think people would have issue with, because that is undeniable. Like low skill wages do depress, the middle class, and then high skill immigrants do depress like the standard wage for people who are trying to get in industries like that. Like, of course, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Google, they're all going to hire H-1B visa people if they want, because they don't have to negotiate salaries with them because they're here on an H-1B visa. They can't negotiate. If they get fired, they have to leave.
That's true. If people don't know that, that's true. With H-1B visa, you're there to do that job in that country. And if you lose that job, you don't get a different one. You get shipped home.
I mean, at the end of the day, it seems like all of us are supporting the growth of tech companies. All of us want them to continue to grow, and like people continue to use their products and services. And it doesn't feel like it feels like we'll take like a strong moral position on something, but the way that we live our lives at the end of the day, it kind of shows that there's a demand for this, regardless of whatever cost there might be associated with it. We can talk about how like maybe wages would have grown faster if we didn't allow any foreign immigrants at all, but even that we don't really know that's true. Maybe the growth of these companies on the backs of H-1B workers has allowed more positions to open up that have allowed companies to pay other workers more. Like,
or maybe the growth is local when it otherwise wouldn't have been.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. Like specialization of labor, for instance. Like when we did NAFTA, a lot of people complained that parts of automation of the U.S. manufacturing of automobiles moved to south of the border. And while that was true, the overall amount of jobs in the automobile industry in the United States stayed roughly the same because a lot of the labor became more specialized in the U.S. to work on other things. It's never like a one. It sounds really shitty to say. I hate like it's nuanced argument. There's never like a one-to-one trade-off on like worker comes here and then job is lost. There's always like more growth and economic activity that comes off the back of that. And then from a macro level, just looking at things, like it doesn't seem that we're suffering in all of these horrible ways that people sometimes say that we are. Like, believe it or not, prior to the COVID thing, I think it was like 70% of Americans were polled and so they felt like the economy was going really well for them. And so we get polls like that, and then on TV everybody's saying like, oh, the rich are fucking everybody, like all the jobs are getting lost. It didn't seem like that experience was coming from like an average American person, just like terminally online Twitter people is what it feels like.
I have a question about back to the Trump thing. So they impeached him a second time. What should they do in the Senate? Should they just not hear it and move on like they did the first time?
I think they should fucking dump it. Why would you waste so much? Listen, I hate Trump more than any other fucker on the planet. I fucking hate that guy. What?
Isn't it 5 days away? Right? 6
Yeah. Well, okay, so if they impeach him or whatever, like do the thing,
convict him in the Senate,
he loses his pension, he loses his security detail, and he loses something else. It impacts his presidential lifestyle for the rest of his life. Also, there's a thing they can do that make it so he can't run for office again, right? Like, hey, you're kind of treasonous. You started an insurrection. You can't run for office anymore. That really impacts his influence on like what happens now. Or he could. Let's say Ted Cruz wants to run next time. He probably does. Trump can fuck with him by threatening to run. Whereas if he can't run, then he loses that weapon. So,
yeah, and we would all like to see Trump fuck with Ted Cruz some more.
It is a positive.
Your wife's ugly.
Like, didn't consider that.
Like, why would you sit there and like waste, like you have such limited time under Biden and you have such an ambitious agenda and we're still like losing like 50 million people a day to the coronavirus. Like, I feel like we need to just focus on shit going forward. I'm not one of these people to sit here and jerk off like, oh, we need to forgive and forget and unity, but like we kind of do. Like, we have a lot of shit we got to get done. Harping on the Trump shit is just going to make you sound deranged to everybody that's not like already bought into your political narrative. Like, fucking eject that shit, move the fuck on. Like,
you know what I want to do? This is what I would do if I were king of the Senate. I'd take it up in 100 days and, have a little hindsight and calm. Like, let Biden try, 100 days in an administration is usually the most productive. Let them do the bipartisan shit. Let them do the unity things. Let them do whatever they can. And then once 150 days has expired, let's use the wisdom we've gathered over that couple of months and figure out what to do about Trump. Should we just let it die? Should we look into it? What's Trump doing now? That might guide what we do next.
I guess like the scary thing is just that everything in politics is give and take. If you want something, you're going to have to give something. And I couldn't imagine losing like a public option in healthcare or some immigration reform bill or some 15 an hour minimum wage, having to sacrifice that at the altar of the Trump conviction thing, like where
or legalize marijuana, which is all I care about.
Or total reformation of the DEA, and all the scheduling shit is fucked. Yeah, like I would hate to have to sacrifice any political ground there to fucking convict Trump. Like the guy is like 400 fucking pounds. He's like 80 years old. Like let him fucking go off.
That's another good bet. Will they legalize pot federally? Will Biden take his old ass hand, scribble that down with Kamala guiding his wrist? Will that happen?
I think
I'm on the,
I think
the side. I'm like, I'm on the Blues fan side. I'm hopeful, but I expect nothing. So
what I usually do in situations like this, like I do it with UFC a lot, like, all right, like I want Conor McGregor to beat Dustin Poirier, but if I bet $100 on Dustin Poirier, I'm happy no matter what happens. Because I'm either going to win $100 or my favorite fighter is going to win and be back in contention to get his belt back. Either way, I'm happy.
That's a good way to do it.
So I totally think they're going to legalize pot. I don't know if they're going to expunge records, or if they do, if it'll be in a way that helps Kyle. But the House already passed it. And now the Democrats own the Senate too. And I'm making this up, but I have to believe there's some Republican support for the pot thing. Like, they're not 100% against it. There's red states that have legalized pot.
Yeah.
So
Rand Paul's in the mix for it, right? He's won.
Yeah. So I just think they're going to get it passed. The House is going to do it again. They're going to pass it again.
Just in the nick of time.
For somebody, just not
That's for you to get off of probation.
Yeah. But it's gonna pass. I don't know why it hasn't. I don't know why the Republicans aren't for it.
Old dumb shit. There are so many issues that both sides, I feel like they need to be a little bit flexible on, and they'd win so many voters.
Guns.
Like Democrats need to drop the fucking like crazy gun shit.
Yes.
Like just ease up a little bit, okay? And then Republicans, I think Republicans and Republicans get mad at but like just fucking let go of the abortion thing, okay? Listen, just fucking drop it, okay? You lose so much that also. Stop being racist, okay? Republicans, as somebody that's grown up, half Cuban, my family, and grew up in a very, very black neighborhood, some of the most conservative motherfuckers that I've met in my life are brown and black. If you would just stop being fucking racist, you would have so many fucking allies here in these minority communities. If you just
They're very religious.
Yeah, holy shit, they're incredibly fucking religious, very fucking traditional in terms of like gender roles and everything. Very
and
like
and stuff. Like if they want a bunch of abortion allies, those are.
I agree with everything you said, and to tip my hat to the Republicans, you just want them to ease off a little bit. Yeah. Homophobia was a losing issue for the Republicans. It was just a variation of being an asshole. You're just a fucking asshole giving people a hard time for no gain. No, you're just like, I hate this kind of person because the Bible told me to.
Why are you taking the L's on this issue? Yeah.
Yeah, just fucking take a step back. And you would still say the Republicans are the anti-gay party if there is one. But oh my God, it's like died down a ton.
Mike Huckabee coming out and defending the one woman that said she didn't want to issue marriage certificates, or like the master cake shop, the whatever. Like, I feel like there are issues that both sides could just like drop and they would massively increase. Because like, let's be real, like evangelicals aren't going to be fucking voting for AOC because Republicans have no longer harped on abortion constantly. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, the Republicans should get. I think if Trump had legalized marijuana a year ago, he'd have won the re-election. I think that would have been enough to push him over. Probably. And I think that. So if they get on the weed train, if they'd be the party of marijuana business, if they push that angle, like the tax revenue and how it's all going toward education, infrastructure, name a thing people care about, and then also, like you said, get back off on the racism thing. Like they're making us all look bad here. Like it's
a shit ton of money on the pot thing. They're like the best example of it.
No, but the drug thing helps the gun thing so much too. The war on drugs contributes so much to fucking gun violence in the United States, which is like fucking 90% from fucking gang violence. Like if you shut that shit down, you're helping so many different parts of your platform that like, fuck, like, it's so frustrating.
I wonder, how will they morph in the next 4 years, right? Will Republicans make any of these positive steps? It's possible because they did it on the homophobia thing. Will Democrats make any good steps forward? Or will they be like, now's our chance to rip guns out of your hands?
I think double down and be like, we're back to neocon stuff. We're just like Bush Jr. again. Oh, also, Iran's threatening us. We took a nice little break from starting new wars the past 4 years, but I'm rip roaring to go. Like they're gonna try and fold back in. They're gonna try and run someone like Nikki Haley, some war, some pro-war neocon. Like they're gonna try and expel Trump as far from as possible and go on as though nothing happened back to Bush.
If Iran killed Trump, I think I'd be like, nah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, he got you. You got him. Let's call it a push.
Don't let me on the. I don't want to be here when the FBI calls. There's a lot of fucking digging into shit right now.
He's not president in this.
How dare you?
I'm sorry. I think there was an earlier part of this video got cut off. So Donald Trump is a character in the Rust server that we're all on, and Iran was the base across the river from us. And Woody was talking about that. I don't know if that.
That did lack context. Yeah.
Yeah.
Donald. Easy mistake.
I don't think the pro-war stuff is going to sell as much for. It's going to take at least another 10. People still remember Iraq too much and Afghanistan. I don't think people are going to be willing to jump back into that.
We need a good war. That's what we need. We need to conquer something again. I'm always saying this. I've said it many times before. We just go in, blow up all their shit, and leave. No, you go in, blow up all their shit, take over, and then you get paid to rebuild it.
I've said
that's what we used to do.
Wait, that's what we did in Iraq, though, and that's where ISIS came from.
No, we didn't conquer. We gave it back to the Iraqis.
We take over Mexico. We don't need a wall. We're saving money.
No, Mexico has a lot of the same animals we have.
No, you take over a country that's got their shit together, Woody. You take over Canada, everything just works. Like you're good to go.
You're winning me over.
Yeah, but once we subsume Canada, it's not going to work anymore.
You're winning me over. Ah, shit! I can't find it.
All Canadians.
If we add Mexico to the Canada-America, it's even worse.
No. We make Canada a territory. All right, they don't get to vote or anything. Not really, and a Trump territory, like what Trump thinks Puerto Rico is.
Trumpada. We'll rename
Trumpada.
Insult to injury.
Trumpland.
We make hockey the national sport of America. Insult to injury. That'll destroy their Canadian spirits.
I like that too.
Except we rank it as our fourth favorite and say they can't even have it as their favorite.
Damn.
That's called demoralization. That's part of
psyops.
We should just conquer something, and I think that would or destroy a lot of infrastructure globally. Like World War II was great for us. Germany was fucked. Japan was fucked. China was destroyed. And Great Britain was fucked. All their infrastructure, they needed American products. We need that again. Then the American worker flourishes.
I'm stupid. How did China get destroyed in World War II?
Japan.
So Destiny. Was it a coup attempt? Was it just a riot? Was it Trump's doing? Was it contrary to what Trump really wanted? What was your take on that?
So I think that it's really silly to get fixated on the words that we use because people will get like hyped up on falling into what these words mean. And then the whole conversation devolves into that. So like, for instance, if we were to say like, well, this was a coup, somebody might say like, well, it's a coup because they tried to stop like a democratic process of an elected leader and they wanted to install their own leader. But then somebody else might counter, well, was it really a coup? They didn't seem very organized. They didn't have top-down direction. They didn't have widespread enough support from the leader directly. Like, so like, I think that like getting into like, was it a coup and blah, 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 I think is like dumb because then people just argue all day long about like what the definitions are and what you need for something to be considered like a terrorist action or a coup, blah, blah, blah. But I think that if we were to speak like broadly, I think it looks like a coup to me. Yeah, there wasn't like direction from Trump, but you clearly have a lot of people that are so far removed from reality that they can't comprehend that maybe their candidate lost. And their goal is to subvert the democratic process by any means possible. First, it was misinformation from Trump. Then it was misinformation in the media. Then it was misinformation in the alternative media. Then it was misinformation from Giuliani. Then it was misinformation from in the lawsuits. And then it was misinformation of the Supreme Court. And then it was misinformation about how Pence could overturn the election. And like then it was misinformation about how senators could object at every single stage. And all the processes, as stupid as they were and as much of a fucking waste of time they were, every single process was followed from start to finish. You know, they had their time in the media. They had their time on social media. They had their time in the courts. They had their time in front of the Supreme Court. They had their time in the Senate. You know, Trump called Pence a pussy. And at the end of the day, they lost at every stage of the way. And then it seems like at the end, it's like, well, fuck it. If reality isn't going to bend to what we want it to, then we're just going to break into the Capitol and force you guys to what we want, which kind of feels like a little bit of a coup to me. But
is that confirmed that he called Pence a pussy?
I mean, it's reported, and it seems to fall in line with everything else Trump has said. But
I hope he did.
I feel like you let Trump off the hook pretty easily, and like they didn't have support from the top. Like Michael Cohen testified and he said Trump speaks in code, which makes it sound really complicated, but this code isn't hard to decode. He says things like, you know what, Taylor, it sure would be nice if when you looked at General Flynn, you found him not guilty of anything and just just stopped it here. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not telling you to do that. I'm not pressuring you. I'm just saying it would be nice if it happened. Sure. That would really lighten my day up. That would make me smile. And you get the message, right? That's not a hard to decode code. When he says, look, you guys are going to lose your country if you don't march right down there to the Capitol and fight. People are like, he didn't say to like break windows. Right?
I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying that like it's not like Trump was communicating with a few guys on the ground being like, if you get into the Capitol, I'll get the military there to help you. And like that's what I mean when it wasn't like official code. And Trump absolutely has the messaging though. Those people were there because of his irresponsible messaging year after year after year after year. 1,000,000%. I'd never disagree with that. 100%.
I think I caught some Fox News the other night, which I don't often do, but they did a montage of things that Democrats have said leading up to and during the riots of last summer. And a lot of it was way more inflammatory than what anything Trump's ever said. Like the stuff that Maxine Waters said about taking Trump out and what people were saying about blowing up the White House. And, if you see anyone who's a member of this cabinet, get in their face and push up on them and, don't give them a job. And if you see them at the gas station, get after them. And I want to go
to when they were locking children up in cages at the border.
Yeah, following the Obama tactics.
That's not true.
No, Obama didn't make those cages.
That's
himself.
Obama didn't fill those cages.
Yeah, that's right. It's like they had this thing.
So we were using Obama's cages. So just so we're all clear.
See,
I mean, there is a distinction to be drawn there. I mean, like we had some immigration policy, but listen, at the end of the day, you can't feel bad for me. You can't, like when you're on record saying like shithole countries, Mexicans are rapists, blah 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 blah, and then you start stuffing kids in cages, it's going to look a certain way. I mean, you really have no one to blame but yourself.
The Obama cages, yes.
The empty Obama cages that were filled with the Trump separated at the border families. I mean,
I'm glad you pointed out that they were empty. Obama not following through with anything really.
All that wasted money on cages.
All that wasted money on cages. Another liberal spending bill of just an empty cage. It's a perfect analogy for the democratic process. Yeah. Thank you. True. Cages built, but not filled. Trump comes in, businessman doing business, fills those cages to the brim. Kids are leaking out the top.
Gotta get shit done.
So many kids that we're having to sell a few to child predators.
People will draw these comparisons between like people saying like we need to take Trump out, blah 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 blah. I mean, like you can play the whataboutism all day, but to try to deny that like Trump has had a clear top-down message of undermining the integrity of our system from day one, and to try to compare that with some vague things that Democrats have said about like we need to take Trump out, blah 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 blah, when Trump is literally on stage saying like, well, maybe the Second Amendment guys can do something about Hillary. Like, I think that those equivocations are hilariously not true. It's not even close to the same level. Like, we don't have like Democrats mailing fucking, what was that one guy that was mailing pipe bombs to fucking like Soros and Democratic politicians and shit? What?
Email to CNN, stuff like that. Yep.
Yeah, the messaging and the undermining of the democracy. To be clear, I'm not against like all forms of protest, but like when you're the president and you are undermining our democratic system at every single step of the way, like, dude, like there are people around the world in China and Russia that are just rolling around laughing that like our head of state could do more damage to the integrity of our system than some random Democratic lawmaker on the news, calling for like, oh, we need to get Trump out. We need to take Trump out. Blah, 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 blah.
After protesters burnt down that police station, Kamala Harris said, they're not going to stop. They're going to be forewarned, be afraid. They're not going to stop. This isn't going to stop, and they shouldn't stop. I think there's some equivocation to be drawn.
But it's not like, look, like in terms of like, we're talking about like nationwide protests. We're talking about like the BLM riots. We're talking about like protest cops. And then you have on the other end, Trump saying 3 million people illegally voted in the last election. The Dominion voting machines are counting votes in Germany, like just patently not true things that leave no room for interpretation, like saying that like the election has been stolen. Again, like you can walk through like every Democrat like soundbite that you can get over like the riots, but to say that there was like as clear a call. And the thing is too, is that like we keep hearing like how dangerous and deadly all these things are. Well, where the fuck is like where was that? You know, like in all of the BLM riots, and like this is the most rioting we've ever had in the entire history of the country. I think around the same number of people were killed as like the LA riots. Not a single cop got killed. I don't remember any cop killing a protester.
I don't think so either. Oh, yeah. I know there were some grievously wounded protesters.
Yeah, there was that, sure. But then in one assault on the Capitol, we get a dead cop, we get 4 or 5 dead protesters. Like,
well, conservatives are more effective at virtually everything. I agree with you there. I'm glad you made that point. But I completely agree that like it's very different. And when we initially talked about this on the last PKA, obviously you weren't here, but I was a little bit softer on the protesters because at that time we were unaware of any police officers being killed. And what we were hearing was that maybe one had accidentally tased himself and had died from that. And I have a hard time being sympathetic to that. But then I saw this video of like the protesters at the Capitol, the mob, whatever the fuck you want to call them, beating a cop to death on video with an American flag. And I was just like, all right, I'm out. Can't defend that. There's no defense for that. You murdered a cop with an American flag. I am nowhere near your side of this argument anymore. Like, this is not what I thought happened, because all the news footage I had seen was Capitol Police moving barricades aside and people walking into the Capitol. And then afterwards, this footage came out of people breaking the exterior windows out with riot shields that they brought and then crawling in and
the initial
then beating that cop to death.
Looked a lot different than the coverage from a day or two later, right? Initially, there's that cute guy with the podium. There's the guy who's cosplaying as a buffalo.
It's funny.
Or something.
It's funny, frankly.
There's the guy with his feet on the desk, which is like super disrespectful. But if that's your team, it's really cool, right? If that's your team.
Can I ask you a question? Like, I know that you're more on the blue side, certainly than I am a lot of the time.
Carry on.
But like Mitch McConnell's not my guy. You know what I mean? Right. I hate Mitch McConnell, but he's like a necessary evil in some regards to like keep the balance of the force, right? Like you need a Satan for there to even be a good, right? There has to be some evil for there to be some good. So like you want people on either side with differing opinions so that one side just doesn't go way off to the left and or right sometimes. Do you have any do you identify with or sympathize with or like people like Nancy Pelosi, for example? That was
coming.
I love Nancy. Oh yeah.
I feel like I don't know what's so bad about her policies. I do see her as like an effective creature of Washington.
You know something else about her is she has huge tits, and you can tell they were huge when she was little. Like not when she was younger, like 20s.
Looking for this now.
Yeah, tell us what you find.
Family only fans.
Like when they wanted to impeach him, she was the one that sort of put that process together. When Trump shut down government, Trump kind of lost that argument. He looked worse in the public eye. And I think that's because Pelosi is navigating these politics better than Trump did.
Oh, yeah.
And big, huh? And share something. Give us a link.
Yeah, I'm looking for a better pick than what I found.
Asking for a link from Kyle. Never mind.
Yeah, because right now I've just got like modern Nancy Pelosi, but just wearing something that shows that she's got some jugs.
Yeah. So, but like, I don't know. I feel like she's not even pitching her own policy. She's just working on behalf of Democrats. Maybe the same way that Mitch does. Maybe there's
the thing is that like politics is so much more complicated than a lot of people give it credit for. Like people will look at a national poll saying like, oh my God, people support Medicare for all, 52%. But what they don't realize is that like that might be like 82% support in New York and like 25% support in West Virginia. So when it comes to talking to individual lawmakers at the end of the day to figure out what they support, not every single person can be on the most extreme left policy that you have. And that's why Pelosi gets shit on a lot by people on the left, because they don't understand, why can't you just make every single Democrat vote for the most be AOC? And it's like, well, because we lose every single fucking seat if we did that. Like, you can't do that, you know?
True. Destiny.
Yeah, what's
just
up?
like the hypothetical argument. Going back to this insurrection thing.
Yeah.
Dude breaks a window. This is a hypothetical. Goes in. They obey the velvet rope lines for some reason, and they put their feet on a congressman's desk. What's the punishment? What does King Destiny lay down for someone who had that level of civil disobedience?
They have to tongue bath the desk where they put their feet on it. And then tongue bath, because that's also gross.
That's a really, really, really hard question to answer. On the most emotional, the emotional take is that like they should all be tried for literal fucking like attempted coup, treason, sedition, whatever crazy shit for trying to disrupt like the democratic process of putting in a new leader. Okay. The more measured take is that like you got a bunch of people brainwashed in some crazy fucking cult that think that Nancy Pelosi is fucking Dominion execs to make machines like spit out wrong votes or some shit. Like these people are so clearly far gone. You just like charge them with trespassing, and unless they did some actual fucked up shit, then fuck it. I think you just charge what sticks. If somebody stole some shit from the Capitol, then charge them out the ass for it. You know, if it was a federal computer, then for attempted theft of federal property or whatever, charge them with whatever you can. But the whole going extra over and over and over again, I just think it doesn't. Fuck it.
Yeah, that's pretty balanced. I've thought about it myself, and like, my emotional argument was like, Kyle said he never felt like that was his building, right? So when he said the Capitol was down, I felt the opposite. I felt like, it was harder to do that, right? The joke is, I'm no longer impressed with Nicolas Cage's ability to steal the Declaration of Independence. It turns out that you could just walk in there if you've got a big enough group, and they pull the gates aside and wave you in. And
yeah, did you see that side video where some cop just opened the door?
I have seen that. Yeah, now there were protesters behind it.
Videos, yeah, all of those videos are fake. Just as a heads up. Almost every single day one video is totally misrepresented. So there are plenty of shots, like even in that one where they're letting the protesters in, the camera pans out. That barricade is blocking nothing. There were people all around, like behind and everything. Even as that very shot pulls back, you see there's another protester like behind it. Like police were just
there's a protester filming it.
Exactly.
Who's obviously on the other side of the barricade as they watch it get pulled away. And I'm like, how many people are on that side? I don't know. So anyway, my emotional thing was Secret Service goes in there, they point the gun at their head, they say, put your feet down. If they don't, they pull the trigger, right? Like, that was my, because you're not supposed to be in the Capitol. You're not supposed, it's a coup. It's treason. It's wild to go in there and try and prevent the rightful president from, getting the next job. All right. So, but it was like, all right, you don't actually want that, right? You don't actually want that. These people may not have, a lot of them did have coup on their head, right? They wore Civil War hoodies to the thing. They brought Confederate flags and did with it. But a lot of these guys, that's overkill. That's stupid. You're going too far. And I was like, you know what I think a guy should get for that? 4 weeks. 4 weeks. I kind of like that. That's a life disruption. It's a punishment. It's probably not life changing. It's as life changing as an automobile accident where you're not hurt. Like it's a financial penalty that you have to sort of come back from, and then you're okay. And you won't soon forget it, but.
Yeah, they're talking about decades of prison.
Yeah. Well, people are talking about that. Trump talked about that. He said he put a monument protection law in there that anyone who...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If people got charged for that, that would be extra ironic.
Trump did. So during the BLM protests, Trump put a 10-year minimum for people who desecrate monuments or something like deface. Yeah, because they were like graffitiing courthouses and stuff like that.
Has that been used yet? Like, has that happened to anybody?
I don't think
anybody yet.
I don't know how they're charging people. Like, they're kind of saber rattling now about how hard they're going.
At all. Like Trump's rule of the 10 years for statues. Like, has that? Because obviously a bunch of statues have been vandalized. Like, has anybody gone away for it?
Oh, I don't know. But I think Trump executive ordered it or something. Like, it's a thing. And now it's his supporters who are doing it in mass. And I don't think he saw that coming. The narrative was always like, watch how peaceful we are. We pick up our own trash. We're the good protesters. And that changed. So, like, what do I actually want? I think 4 weeks. For people who go in there and, like, do shit, go into the offices and put their, like, I don't know. If you steal a hard drive from Nancy Pelosi's computer, that's bad. You're not supposed to do that.
One of the things that makes me wonder, though, the argument that I could see pushing me to the other end of this, and I just haven't thought much about it because there's so many other things to think about right now. What if they would have gotten into like a body of lawmakers? What if they would have gotten into a room with a whole bunch of Congress people? Like, could we have theoretically seen for the first time in U.S. history, like a whole bunch of fucking lawmakers getting held hostage and killed by protesters?
The zip ties, the gallows they constructed. They were chanting, hang Mike Pence. Hang Pelosi.
And then when I think about it on that end, well, now it's like, these motherfuckers need to die. What the fuck? This is some crazy shit. Because like you said, like, why are U.S. citizens overthrowing the Capitol during our election process, like we're a literal laughing stock. It's probably one of the most embarrassing moments in recent history of this country. It's like unbelievable.
Right, the Capitol's not supposed to fall.
Yeah, the double ironic twist is that is that it looks like. But it looks like, I say this cautiously, unless a bombshell is released, it looks like the reason why federal troops weren't there is because the mayor, the MPD, the Metropolitan Police Department, and the Capitol Police specifically didn't want any federal presence there because of what happened last time, because they were worried that more federal troops would incite violence. And it looks like the blame might actually fall on, I know the head of the Capitol Police already resigned, and even the mayor, for specifically rejecting help over and over and over again because they were worried about repeating like a Lafayette Square where federal troops are out gassing protesters, and they didn't want that look, which is like triply ironic. So
I read the opposite. That guy that resigned specifically requested National Guard help, and he didn't get it.
Let me be very, very clear here, because there's a lot of this gets around. So one, the MPD, the Metropolitan Police Department, not the Capitol Police, they requested help from the National Guard, but the help that they requested was 320 or 370 unarmed, no riot police to help with like traffic and stuff. So that happened, but specifically non-riot police officers. And then the other request that people talk about was that during the day of, a few hours after the riots had like broken into the buildings, when they were requesting help from the National Guard, at that point, the chain of command got very fucky. And there was, I don't know if they denied the request or it was just the chain of command. There were a lot of arguments about like who was responsible for this. Like, do we have authorization to go in or not? I don't think it was a specific, we're not going to help you, fuck off kind of thing. I don't think it was specifically that going through. There's a whole bunch of people that have posted big timelines on this, and that doesn't appear to be the case.
Yeah, like I'm reading quotes right now. I am making an urgent, immediate request for National Guard assistance. I have got to get boots on the ground.
Yes.
And
they had no contingency plan for that.
And they said, I don't like the visual of the National Guard standing in a police line at the Capitol in the background. And they're like, the situation is dire. Literally, this is a guy on the phone crying for help. It's burned in my memories, right? They're going back and forth, and they're like, hey, I want to be clear. Are you denying my request for help? And he said, I'm not denying it. I'm just not the guy who can authorize it. Like
exactly. Because there was so much confusion and again, they specifically rejected having contingency plans in place. And I think a lot of it was they were worried that Trump would send in federal troops and it would look bad. So they're like, nah, fuck you. We're going to deal with this on our own. Fuck Trump. Fuck that. And I think that actually came back to bite them in the ass.
I look forward to it coming out because I've seen it presented in a different way. They were almost like, we want to have people here, and they're like, no, we like not having people here. We like it being fucked. And you say no, but I feel like it's not known yet. Like it's still
the reason why I would put money on this right now. I would bet you against it right now. The reason why I know that's not the case is because if those requests were being made and rejected, two things would have happened. One, it absolutely would have leaked because Trump has one of the most leaky administrations of all time. Somebody would have leaked. MPD and Capitol Police make big requests. Trump shoots them down. It would have leaked 1 million%. Number one.
It has already.
Number two, what?
It has. They said they were trying to get Trump's help and they couldn't. Why couldn't they get it? Because Trump was watching it on live TV and not taking calls.
No. That was day of, though. I'm talking about preparation. In preparation, they didn't make any requests because this stuff is negotiated because they knew about this like weeks in advance.
In preparation, they said, hey, we're not asking you to be here. We're asking you to, quote, lean forward and be ready to get here if anything happens.
I don't think that happened, though. That's the thing. Because the second thing I'd say is that if requests were being made for them to be ready to go in and they weren't doing that, then the mayor would have been complaining on social media. And all over the country, we would have heard, because you have to keep in mind, the FBI was already on the ground making arrests in preparation for this vote counting thing. Remember that Proud Boys guy was arrested. Like the FBI had tips and everybody was on the up and up of this. If they were begging the National Guard and the federal government to be ready, like please, please, please be ready with troops. And they were like, we're not going to do shit. You better believe Mayor Bowser would have been on Twitter. Trump fucking us over. Everybody would have tweeted out. He's not providing help. It was radio fucking silence because they didn't want any federal presence there. That's what I think. And I think that seems to be what's played out so far, but we'll see.
Yeah. We've probably done too much politics already, but yeah, I guess I'm reading that. I'm just looking through this. There is a lot of day of asking for. I don't have no counters to your like preparation side, but I'm not sure that not responding to the day of makes everybody innocent either.
I just think the leadership was
chaos, cloud of war type stuff.
Yeah, the leadership fucked up. This should have been prepared for. They totally dropped the ball. The reason why I like to focus on that is because like a lot of people are saying that like the cops were white nationalists, the cops let them in, it was a bunch of racists. If this was BLM, it would have happened. Bullshit. I think that every cop that was there did the fucking best they could. They were like fucking, when you get macro shots of this, you've got like fucking, this is like Left 4 Dead tier shit. You've got like 40 cops standing against like an army of like 50,000 protests. Like, what do you want him to do? Like, people were showing like videos of like initially like, oh, look at that black cop, like he's just walking them up the stairs. Like, motherfucker, it's one cop running away from like 30 fucking people by now. What do you think, he's just going to start unloading his fucking Glock into the crowd? Like,
that'll calm it down. Yeah.
They were totally unprepared for this, and it's a travesty. And I think it obfuscates the issues to have people starting to say like, oh, it's just racist cops that let them in because they were all white nationalists. That just bothers the fuck out of me.
Yeah, that seems pretty unrealistic and silly.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So anyway, it's crazy to think about it because he's so fallen from grace now. But Giuliani, I think, originally got a lot of credit for cleaning up New York, for helping.
He did. The mob, especially. Yeah.
Oh, right. Especially. Yeah.
Yeah. What a weird fall from grace. Like he was America's mayor. Like he was so respectable. He seemed like a shoo-in to like run for president or some high office and just ride that into the sunset of being like this respectable, head on his shoulders, all about crime, all about law and order, and like, you know, and then like to see him now, like literally like wiping snot on his face and like having his hair melt and just look like pulling his dick out or whatever he was actually doing with that girl in the Borat movie. You know, he's fixing a microphone wire that's apparently tied in a tight knot around his testicles. I don't know what the fuck he's up to down there in his pants. And just looking like he's the buffoon. He's Trump's clown. It's absurd. I don't know how that happened.
When did he run for president?
Was it 92 or something? I forget. But dude, it was hilarious. So when he ran for president, I was old enough. I was like watching politics at the time. And he would just talk about 9/11 every time. Every question you asked him, he'd mention 9/11 constantly. 9/11, everything. And one of his opponents made fun of him, and they said that like the way that Giuliani speaks is every sentence has a noun, a verb, and 9/11. And shortly after that, they asked him like what his tax plan was. He's like, it should be a flat tax. And they're like, what should your tax rate be? He's like, I don't know, maybe 9 to 11%. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
9% flat tax.
He was the front runner in 2008.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Up until McCain, I guess.
You got to be careful with those primaries because especially the big ones, everybody is the front runner at some point, right?
Yeah, he raised the most money. He was in the lead for a full calendar year.
Damn.
Yeah, everybody.
Time Magazine named him as the person of the year for 2001, branding him the mayor of the world.
Yep.
That's a bit.
And America's mayor and everything too. Like that was,
Yeah, it was interesting. So when 9/11 first happened, I know a lot of you were young or not born listening. Like there was kind of a void. Like there was this big thing and it impacted the nation in a way that nothing has since. We were all like, sports got canceled. Everyone was depressed or sad or scared. I'm never scared by politics. Every time they talk about the politics of fear, this and that, and I'm like, oh, this is really all sport to me. Nothing scares me about what's happening. 9/11 kind of did. Like I was at work. I called Jackie. I was like, okay, there's a nuclear power plant to our south. The plan is, did I say it right? You know, if they attack that, no, nuclear power plant. If they attack that, I'm north of you. Grabbing the better car, pick me up. We'll keep going north. We'll get away from it. Like it was, we thought that we were at risk. It seems crazy now, but
everybody
we're going north to New York. They won't strike twice.
Every person was like, "Where's the closest airport? The closest military base? The closest nuclear power plant?"
Everyone thought they were a target next. Like they all thought that they were living next to some World Trade Center like attraction. And shit, I was going to the Real Impact.
You were going north to meet up with Jackie.
Yeah. Shit, and there was a leadership void, right? Like Cheney was never really an out public type leader. Like, he wouldn't get on the mic and talk very much. Bush went like 3 days without saying anything. We were just like, what now? Like, where are we? And then Giuliani is there with a bullhorn standing on top of the rubble, saying like, it's okay, we'll get him back. You know, don't be scared. And like, he filled that leadership void that the whole nation needed, and it served him really well.
Yep, absolutely did. And he when they got the Florida primary, he was like third and endorsed McCain the next day.
Okay.
Is mayor of New York the highest he ever got? Mayor? Did he do anything other than that?
I think so.
I know that's a big
so.
position.
Right. It's
I think mayor of New York is bigger than like some like federal representative. Like, that's a big.
Right. It's hard to stack rank it, right? Is mayor of New York bigger than senator of Wyoming?
Absolutely, it is.
Well, senator maybe not, but like representative of Wyoming? Yeah, maybe, yeah. Well, senator. Listen, if you're a senator, you're a senator. If you're a representative, you might be one of like 435 or whatever, or five, whatever. But like, like the mayor of New York that's a tall order.
Yeah, I would take that job over a lot of other jobs if you're as far as politicians go, because like I feel like the mayor of New York is able to really live it up. Like he's the mayor of like a really, really big, powerful, rich city. Like a lot comes along with that, I'm sure.
I want to be a mayor of like some shitty city where they have so many problems they won't even notice how much I'm looting the coffers. I'll be the mayor of New Orleans.
I want to be a Mormon senator from Utah, right? Like, your reelection is guaranteed. You can do anything. No,
because there's going to be another Mormon.
Unless they catch you drinking some strong drink or something.
It never happens that way. These Mormon senators from Utah, they just keep serving until they don't want to anymore.
Mitt Romney, he looks so much younger than he actually is. Maybe Mormons have something.
Is it just the hair dye?
I don't know.
Maybe there's more to it than that. He does look pretty good. Like, his posture's good. He's fit. He's not fat.
Maybe I'm just comparing him to the rest of the absolute ghouls. That where it's like, wow, he
looks better than McCain these days.
Yep.
By a long shot. Yeah, McConnell looks
able to see our next war
because dead.
Yeah, because he's dead.
Mitch McConnell looks a little better. He looked terrible with that bruising all over his face and hands.
Oh yeah, that hand shit, that was weird.
He's looked awful for years. Not even like sick old man, just kind of like ugly old man.
I wonder if he'll retire.
If he loses, yeah. Oh, he did lose. Yeah, I would think he would retire.
Did you hear about Dianne Feinstein? I saw some funny thing where it's like, this was a long time ago. This came out. It was like some staffer said like, she's 87 now, and all the time she goes to meetings, and she has no idea what just happened in the meeting she was in, and she already filed paperwork, or her team did on her behalf, and she's going to run again for another 6-year term at the age of 91 in 4 years. So it's like, really? You're going to be a 97-year-old potentially? Like, no.
That's one of the cool things. Like, John Ossoff won from Georgia. Obviously, I don't know if we ever really talked about it a lot, but the Dems both won. And John Ossoff's youngest senator, I think, in the land.
Yeah,
I think he's.
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, not youngest ever,
right,
but youngest current senator serving. He's less than 40. I don't know how old he is.
Yeah, I don't think his seats. A Democratic senator from Georgia probably doesn't have the like automatic reelect that so many of them have.
Oh yeah, definitely not. These are hard fought seats, both of these.
Yeah, but we'll see. Kyle's our resident social justice warrior, blue state person.
Yeah. You red state fucking goons over there.
Yeah,
you can't figure out who you're going to kill next for going to the wrong bathroom in North Carolina, and Taylor's state is just the embarrassment of the Midwest. Let's be honest.
Oh, come on! We have all the best gun laws. They hardly exist.
What was it? Your senator or whatever did, your representative, the real pro gun one? Didn't he do something awful?
No. I think you're thinking like a few years ago, the governor of Missouri, like the brand new elected governor of Missouri. It was like Eric Greitens, his name is, I don't know what the fuck he's doing now, but he resigned because someone came forward and was like, hey, I think it was like sexual blackmail or something. Like he took a bunch of pictures of me naked when we were fooling around, and he was cheating on his wife. And I don't remember all the details. Maybe I'm getting some stuff wrong, but I do remember stuff about like scantily clad and nude sex photos. And then he totally resigned. He's gone now.
Destiny, I bet you're up to speed on this. Maybe Swalwell? Did he have sex with a Chinese spy or something? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I feel like I would have heard this.
What?
Felony invasion of privacy.
Eric Swalwell fucked a Chinese spy.
Yeah, I think so. Eric Swalwell.
Yeah,
Is her name
reading now.
Fang Fang?
Yeah, a Chinese national named Fang Fang or Christine Fang targeted up-and-coming local politicians in the Bay Area and across the country with the potential to make it big on the national stage. Are you saying that she fucked her way into this or whatever? Or
I mean, I saw it on Facebook. I don't know what more proof you need.
A Chinese agent, and well, who else was she fucking? Is there a list here?
Speaking of your Facebook, Scum has been telling me that your Facebook is very blue these days.
Oh, dude, all the Republicans have gone silent. Like there is a group of Republicans that just fucking like invaded, ripped me apart, etc. Ever since the Capitol invasion, they have no more to say. They're just gone. They've gone radio silent.
They might have pending federal charges against them. They may that may be under a lawyer's recommendation based on your Facebook.
It's possible, but I think the more likely scenario is they don't have a winning hand. Like they just sort of folded for a while, and they'll wait for Democrats to be like pro-abortion or something. And
Trump is still super popular. You can't really speak out against him. But they don't really want to take a side now because everybody's trying to prepare for a post-Trump world, and you don't want to like have everybody hate you before that happens. So they're just waiting for him to be gone.
You'd think the Trump train would be in full effect because they're all on the no-fly list.
Yeah.
Boo! What's Trump's next move? That's something I wanted to cover tonight. Like, I think his next move is write a book, big book tour, lots of rallies, fucking keep it rolling. Try to cash in. I think maybe he also starts a media company of some kind, and like those two things are very incestuous with one another. His book tour, his rallies, his media company. His media company covers his book tour. His book tour talks about his media company, and he rolls that into being quite successful.
I'm halfway on board. The media company thing in particular, I think it's really complicated to start a media company, to get the licensing, to get that thing off. It's a complex venture to run, more so than the real estate he's done before, which was smaller, I guess, than it seems. And so what would be a better move for him is to just be well paid to appear on someone else's media venture, right? He could be a regular contributor to Fox or Newsmax or One America News or something like that. Go on there, pimp his book, pimp his fundraising activities, spout his opinions, and see how it goes. I think the bloom will come off, the guild will come off the rose, something like that. I think he's not going to look as good as an ex-president. I don't think he'll have the same appeal. I might be wrong. I could be wrong. Maybe I just never saw his appeal like some people did. But I just think that without the podium and the White House behind him, he's going to seem like a regular, like a low information voter who's just too prominent.
I agree with the fact that he's not going to do anything, but I disagree with the rationale, actually, because even before Trump didn't have the podium, right? Trump was the start of that birther movement. A lot of people forget that, but like that was him, and that was before he was in any elected position. Now he was still probably riding off the popularity of the
apprentice,
of like being the apprentice and everything. So yeah, I think that I agree. He's probably not going to do much, but I don't think it's because it's difficult and all that shit. He's probably just not going to do much because I think it's too much effort. I think he's just tired of it. Like shit is crazy, I think.
But I think he likes making money, and he'll find a way to cash in on his popularity. The book, I think, is money. I think he's definitely going to have a book ghost written for him. And then after that, I think he really enjoys the rallies, but they might get embarrassing fast. When he starts doing rallies for practically no reason and 1,000 people come, it's going to feel like that Oklahoma event or whatever it was.
You just start charging for them, and then the smaller group is more valuable, right? Like, if you have $1,000 a plate dinner to benefit the Trump Foundation, and get a couple hundred people in there, and just do a couple of those a year, and I think he's gonna. I think the rallies will still be big. People fucking love that guy. They think of him as like an entertainer / stand-up comedian. Like, people really like him. And look, I've seen it in person. He's entertaining. Like, when you're there, it's fun.
But the rally, if he's allowed to use media again, then yeah, he would have huge rallies. But if he can't promote what he's doing on Twitter, YouTube, Google, like whatever, like they can kind of hamstring him there.
Yeah, so deplatforming really works.
You can't. Oh, I saw like a bank was like shutting down a couple of his accounts with like millions of dollars in it. It's like,
was it a bank or was it Stripe?
It wasn't.
Stripe said they weren't going to handle payments anymore, I think, and then the Deutsche Bank or whatever said they were going to do business.
You're
with
right.
them.
You're right.
All it would take is whatever payment processor he was using to just say no.
They already have.
That's what I'm saying, is that this is why if the powers that be in this country decide that they no longer want him to be able to have rallies and do that, they can just deperson him like they have online. And like, how's he going to get his message out? Mm-hmm. Like it just won't get out.
I don't know how hard it would be to take did PayPal drop him? Like, there's always another Stripe.
PayPal will drop him. His hosting service will drop him. Cloudflare would drop him. Like, all it takes is a couple people, a couple key ones.
Deplatforming works. Like, Milo got deplatformed, and it just like, I think a lot of people think maybe they're bigger than the platform they are, that they're bigger than the platform that they're on, and that or I'm on so many platforms that if any one drops, I'm okay. But then they lose two of them or so. Milo without Twitter is a past tense thing. Alex Jones, he's not gone, but he's not nearly part of like the conscious that he was when he was on YouTube and all the bigger ones. Glenn Beck, he was on Fox News and he was like the leader of the Republican Party in some ways. He started the Tea Party moment with the hats and he was Trump before Trump. Now where's Glenn Beck? Just a radio show I never hear of. He's the guy with the Cheetos on his face. It's just weird. Deplatforming has a huge impact. And he's been deplatformed. So we'll see where that goes. He's going to struggle. And Snapchat deplatformed. So Twitter dropped him. I think Facebook dropped him. Then I'm not sure about YouTube, but Snapchat dropped him. And I'm like, did he even go on Snapchat yet? Has he been on? Like they're like, no, you can't come here. They closed the door before he could get in.
At some point, it was like companies virtue signaling to each other. Yeah, I saw the Spotify one. I'm like,
with Joe Rogan and Nervous Jones was on the episode, right? I think they were saying they didn't want to host it or something.
I don't know about that. I was saying that Spotify banned Trump, and it's like, what the fuck? It's Spotify, the music company.
Mm-hmm.
They're podcast too.
Yeah.
No, he's not going to start a podcast. He likes waving his arms and being on TV.
That's it. His format is working a crowd. That's where Trump excels. If you read his speeches, they're not good. If you, they're there. His format is working the crowd. The people love him. That's where he excels, not on TV.